Let's face it, life isn't easy. If you're stuck in a bad relationship, betrayed or afraid of tomorrow, financially insecure, or desperate for a breakthrough, you've come to the right place. Dr. Carmen Harra is a renowned psychologist, intuitive, relationship expert, and best-selling author, and she's here to give you the miracle guidance you need. Miracle Guidance for Everyday Life offers profound wisdom, practical advice, daily exercises, and empowering predictions, all for you. Dr. Harra's show aims to eliminate everyday problems, big and small, with topics like healing your relationships, reclaiming your power, achieving better health, dealing with loss, and so much more. Regain the joy, stability, and fulfillment you deserve to feel. Tune in to Miracle Guidance for Everyday Life with host Dr. Carmen Harra and find the answers you've been looking for.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited because tonight I have one of my favorite people in the world joining me, and I'm so grateful. Dr. John Gray. Dr. John Gray, welcome to the show. You don't need any introduction. Everybody knows who Dr. John is for so many years. I mean, your book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, has been considered one of the 10 most applauded book, the most influential book in the last quarter century. So your book is still a bestseller. Everybody wants your advice, needs your advice. I don't know how you're able to cope with so many people who need you, but we are so lucky tonight to have you with us on the show. And we need you. We need you because, you know, the world evolves, so do we. And relationships are more complicated, more difficult to deal with. People want to be free. And yet, what do we need more out of life? We need love. And you're an inspiration because you've been in love with your beautiful wife, Bonnie, for 34 years. And, you know, that's so rare. That doesn't exist anymore. And you have to tell us the secret. And I know Bonnie's still with you because I see her behind you. She's with us right now. And she's proud of you. She's proud of you for everything you do, you know, to honor her, you know, and to remind everybody that that's the way people should live. And they still have yet to figure it out how they can experience something so amazing and so unique and so magic and so extraordinary. So tell us a little bit about your secret.
Well, Carmen, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting my wife, Spirit, into the room. That was very lovely.
She's here. She's listening.
She's here with me. You know, my wife passed 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, but she gets to be with me every day because when I'm teaching my ideas and helping everybody, she has been my greatest teacher in life.
Yes.
And she would say I was her greatest teacher. I think we learned from each other. You know, one of the interesting things about Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, my message has evolved a lot. It's not any different from that book, but the world has changed. And so how do we cope with the world is very different. But she was, you know, trying to figure her out. That was my first thing. I really knew myself. I'd been a monk for 9 years. I grew up with 5 brothers. You know, I know what it meant to be masculine.
Right.
And so being with a woman was curiosity for me. I just didn't understand it. I did everything wrong in the beginning. But I learned, you know, part of being a monk or being a seeker of truth and enlightenment and so forth is self-reflection. Know thyself, know thyself. And so I had the good fortune of finding myself around 29 years old is when I sort of found myself and was ready to go out into the world. I was able to love myself. You know, we all know it's a challenge to be in a relationship. If you're not loving yourself and feeling good about yourself, it will show up as problems in your relationship.
Yes.
And, you know, that's kind of a nice cliche, which is, you know, love yourself to love somebody else. Practically speaking, what it means is to love yourself is to forgive yourself when you make mistakes. It's to not demand perfection, to not say, when am I going to get it right? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? It's be easy with yourself, be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself. And, you know, what Bonnie used to say about me is I'm an innocent, because truly, I only try to do the best I can. She really got that, although I wasn't doing everything right. And But when you love yourself, then when your partner doesn't do things that are right, you're forgiving. If you can forgive yourself for your mistakes, if you can be easy on yourself, not demanding of yourself in a harsh way, then you can be very accepting and understanding of someone else. And that's where the theme of love yourself really comes into play to have a successful relationship. So
Right.
I'd say the first, 9 years of the marriage before I wrote Men Are From Mars, so many ways I had learned how to give my wife what she needed, because she was a good communicator of what she wanted, what she needed. I won't say she always did it perfectly, but as I made changes, she made changes. And when she made changes, it changed me. That's why I realized a relationship is integrated. If as a man, if I do some of the things I suggest to men, their wives can be more loving. And when a woman can be more loving, a man will find a whole nother part of him that wants to give more. It's kind of understanding that uh, in my profession, I've traveled around the world. And at one point, they kept calling me to come to China. I really didn't want to go. It was a long
You
trip.
didn't?
And so, well, in the
Long
beginning,
trip, yeah.
I'm busy. I was busy in America, and I go to Europe
Right.
and another
Right.
language, but my books were a bestseller there. And, this is over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And at that time, China suddenly had a lot of money. Okay. That a stock market went up.
Right.
So they said, well, what if we pay you $100,000 to
Oh,
come
wow.
and give
And
a talk? Okay. A weekend seminar for $100,000. So a man who didn't want to go to China suddenly wanted to go to China. and, and that's the point I want to make. I want women to understand this, is that when men can say, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. But if doing this is going to make you really happy, that's
right.
$100,000.
100.
Then I want to do it. You see, so this is what you have to realize. There's so much of men that women think that we're selfish or we don't want to give and whatever.
Right.
Is that we need a reason to give, and women don't. You see, women have a gene that just says keep giving, keep giving, keep giving. It's a nurturing gene.
Right.
And when men got the Y chromosome, which separates us from women, what it did is baby boys are born with all the genes that women have. We are exactly like a little girl in the womb up until about 3-4 weeks. That's when the Y chromosome, the sex differentiation gene, that's what it's called, sex differentiation chromosome, it releases 23 genes that women don't have.
Exactly.
So I have all the genes that a woman has, but I've got these 23 genes that women don't have. And the function of
medical school, yeah.
Oh, so you know that, but our listeners don't know. So those 23 genes, one of their major functions is to override my female genes. They
Right.
override it. So they negate it. They turn it off. So there's this gene that women have, which is give, 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 give. And men have a gene that turns off that gene and says, don't give unless you have to. Okay. This to really understand this about men. We have this gene that says, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. Now, from one point of view, that's what efficiency is. Why would I do something I don't have to do? I only have so much energy. Whereas women, they don't have that override. And so they give and they give and they give. And in the beginning, giving feels really good. But if it doesn't come back, then giving doesn't feel really good. Then you feel you have nothing to give. So the idea here is that the secret of the relationship, you asked me what the secret of my marriage is. I had to learn, and it took me a long time to learn it. And I can teach men to do it much faster than it took me to learn it. But when I give more than I want to give, because I know the benefit it will have, then suddenly I feel I want to give more. So I'll give you a practical example. After Bonnie died, I'm now happily married again. And my wife says to me, she gets the benefits of everything I learned with Bonnie. She's very grateful to Bonnie. We have her picture all around the house. She feels she lucked out having me, because really Bonnie transformed me. And my wife says to me, I can't believe you're so generous. I can't believe you're so giving. I've never seen this in a man. You give so much. There's so much I get in this relationship. And she sees me being very generous and forgiving of other people as well. And I say to her, now, I know you think I'm so generous and so giving, but actually I'm very, very selfish. I'm very selfish in that I have to do certain things. And if I do those things, I will have a happy wife. See, that's all men really want is a happy wife. But we have to
Right.
realize we have to do certain things. You know, if I want $100,000 for a talk, I have to fly to China and go through the whole jet lag thing and whatever.
Right.
But I don't mind doing that. I'm happy to do it as long as I know that it's something I have to do to provide the happiness. Men don't know that. They don't know what it takes to make a relationship work. And they think it's hard work. It's not hard work. It's smart work. And they think it's the reason that they don't know is, and how did they get started? It was so good in the beginning, because in the beginning of a relationship, there's a newness, and the newness stimulates dopamine in a man. Dopamine increases testosterone in a man, which is when men have their best behavior. Most people don't realize that if a man is aggressive and angry, his testosterone is going down. It's testosterone is not linked to high testosterone, high anger. No, when testosterone is low, then men are irritable, angry, impatient, selfish. All those qualities are associated with low testosterone. So when I hear that if I go to China, I'll get $100,000, well, my testosterone shoots up. That anytime a man has the opportunity to produce a big result, his testosterone goes up. So suddenly the thing I didn't want to do, I now want to do it. And I'm reminded of a man I was talking to the other day, and I was telling him how what you have to do in a relationship is you have to make sure a woman feels welcome to talk about her feelings. Very, very important, because when women can talk about their feelings, they feel safe. They can share themselves. You know, we want women to be naked in bed. Well, they need to be naked emotionally as well before they can get naked physically. So she needs total safety that I'm not going to get angry with her, upset with her, be bored with her, whatever, if she's sharing with me. So that's something I now know I have to do. So I want to do it. And he said to me, he says, well, what if you don't want to do it? Because he don't want to do it. And I said, because you don't understand the benefit you're going to get from that. You see, the selfish benefit, you know, human beings, we care about what am it's, you know, you shouldn't just give everything away. You have to take care of yourself too. And so men are like, okay, what's in it for me? And it's not so much a selfish thing. It's just a need. Men need to feel they may not be aware of it, but their greatest need from a woman is to feel I contributed to her well-being and to her happiness. And why do I say that? And this is much greater in men than women. Okay, this is the reason men will leave a relationship. Over and over, I've counseled over 55 years. And when a man is wanting to end a relationship or he's unhappy in a relationship, they almost always say the same thing. No matter what I do, it's never enough to make her happy. Now, rarely do I hear a woman say, I'm unhappy in this marriage. No matter what I do, he's not happy. What she says is, I do so much for him. I do this and I do this and I do this, and I get nothing back. I don't get back what I'm giving. That's because women are reciprocal. Just as men have this efficiency gene, don't do it unless you have to do it. Women have this reciprocal gene, which is, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you. It's automatic. If I figure out, if a man can be taught, you don't have to figure it out. I figured it out for you, 55 years. But if a man can figure out what are the little things that are necessary that you have to do to have a happy wife, if you understand what those things are and they're not a big burden, it's actually easier if you know what to do, then suddenly you could be the most selfish person in the world as a man. And of course, what do men want most? They want to feel I'm successful and having a happy wife. So it's just a matter of educating this to men. And men are not the ones who read my books. Although, ironically, when it comes to Men Are From Mars, more men now buy it than women.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's interesting. For the first 5 years, it was women, and then men found out about it. And now men were buying it equal to women. And then after about 15 years ago, Amazon took me off of the woman's, I've been canceled. I don't know if you know that, but the HR departments, I used to speak at all the corporations, best-selling author. Right. The HR department calls me a sexist. I used to be on every single TV show all the time. I could do any show whenever I wanted.
On every single TV show. I've seen
all
you
over the place. And I used to be there. But then, and
I saw you
in the
with
year
Barbara
2000,
Walters on the 3 hour special. I've seen you everywhere. Absolutely.
yeah, it used to be that way. Well, now I'm canceled. I was canceled. This is cancel culture. I'm considered a sexist
Yeah.
and not allowed to be on national TV. I can be on podcasts, but not national TV. It's amazing. Only because I talk about men and women are different. And for some people, that's a sexist comment. And these are usually unhappy, independent people who are not in relationships. And that's why they're not in relationships in most cases, is they don't recognize how beautiful it is, how amazing men can be, and how amazing women are. This is the men. I teach men
Right.
how you can keep a woman happy. It's so easy once you get through the learning curve. See, the learning curve is very, very challenging to get to, because it's often you have to think the opposite of the way you would normally think. For example, for a woman, if you're giving more and you're getting less, the solution is to give less and you will get more. See, that doesn't make any sense to a woman. It's like, no, you give and you get. It doesn't make sense to her, because if I gave more to my wife, she has to give me more. Women are reciprocal. If I
Right.
give more to her, she will give me more back. That's what I've learned. If I, so you learn what are the easiest things you can do. I give you an example of that. I give 4 hugs a day, every day. I find her, I give her a hug. I leave, I give a hug. She leaves, I find her, get a hug, go to bed. One goes to bed first. I'm going to give her a hug. 6-second hug. Why do I do that? First of all, I do that because I know as a woman today in a modern world, she needs to make more estrogen. See, women today, their hormones are out of balance. When a woman is independent, when all you have to do is be making money. The pressure of making money makes more testosterone. She has to be able to balance that with estrogen. And in order to produce more estrogen, she needs more oxytocin. There may be some new words for people, you know them, but oxytocin is the safety hormone. But when oxytocin goes up, women feel relaxed, they feel safe.
Exactly.
Then they can feel, I can trust you, I can depend on you. And it's when women feel I can depend on someone, then their estrogen goes up. And for the men listening, estrogen is so important. Estrogen is the love hormone. It's the love hormone, because we know that when a woman's estrogen goes higher, she feels more love. And when her estrogen goes down, she feels less love. Anytime a woman is upset, if she's not trusting, if she's irritable, if she's angry, if she's mad, if she's closed up, anytime she's stressed, her estrogen is too low, or at a different time of the month, her progesterone is too low. These are the
What if, for instance, cortisol levels, the stress hormone, is very high, and the estrogen level is very high? Both of them very high.
There is an exception. Everything has its exception, which you have to look at. There's 2 sources of anxiety inside of women.
Right. Mm-hmm.
One is, and that would be her cortisol levels. She's feeling anxious. If you
Yes.
go back 5,000 years ago to the Greek days, there's a word that came into use, which is called hysterical women, hysteria, right? You know the word hysterical.
Yeah.
Because all irrational emotions, getting upset, worried, fainting, being upset. This was common in 25% of the population of women. And it was only common in wealthy women, because the status symbol of a wealthy woman, the man has to have a status symbol as well. My wife, we're a wealthy family, so she has slaves. When a woman has slaves, we can call them servants, but they were slaves. Also nannies to raise your children, send your kids off to school. These are the women who by status meant, oh, we're so wealthy that we don't have to do things for ourselves. If you look at Chinese women, they wear these dresses. You can't walk, they bundle their feet. All these signs that a woman doesn't have to work actually created anxiety in those women, because her estrogen levels were too high, because her testosterone was too low. Typically today, a woman's anxiety comes from her estrogen being too low and her testosterone being too high. Okay, that's one force of resentment, anxiety, depression, all the imbalances. But when she's after ovulation, then estrogen levels drop, but her progesterone levels have to be higher. So what are the relationships that stimulate progesterone? What are the relationships that stimulate hormones? And what is the governing factor of what our hormones what produces hormones? It's relationships. You see, it's if you're a woman and you're busy, your only relationship is work, you can see her estrogen will be too low and her progesterone will be too low. This is the dynamic. Uh, and what I've done is analyze, and that's in the, my later work is analyzing the hormones of men and women, because no medical person disputes that hormones are very, very different in men and women. And yet I have estrogen, but if I'm a man and I'm angry, my estrogen is high. My testosterone is low. That was not common knowledge before. It's still not common knowledge, but the research disproves the old research that said that, just because a bull has high testosterone, that's what creates aggression. It's you can have a bull and they cut off his balls, but they give him a tiny bit of testosterone and he'll still be aggressive. So that became the knowledge that testosterone wasn't the factor that created anger inside of men. Now what you have is the understanding that there are some men who are like bulls, okay? They require higher testosterone levels in order to have well-being. I'm not such a big guy, don't have such muscle mass. I don't require as much testosterone in order to have well-being. So every man has his set point, and there's quite a range. At my size, it's around 400. I'm around 600, but my range in my life earlier was 400. Some men, it has to be like 800. Otherwise, they will become angry. We saw this very clearly when men took testosterone, and the testosterone shot up. But when testosterone goes too high, the body has a balancing factor, and you have aromatase gets produced, which is an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. And when that testosterone converts into estrogen, that's road rage. That's men out of control. So that gave us the new insight that it's when men's testosterone converts into estrogen, that's when men are angry. So what I teach men is every time you're angry, you should know your female side, your estrogen is too high, and you need to not do anything to increase estrogen. And one of the most important things that increases estrogen is talking about feelings. See, this is why we have a whole industry of therapists and coaches, and 90% of the people who go to them are women, because women experience, if I talk about what I'm feeling, eventually something happens and I feel better. Well, what happened is talking about problems and negative feelings and complaints actually raises estrogen levels. It's not the best way to raise estrogen levels, but it's part of it. But it's a fast way to raise estrogen. It doesn't stay up, because estrogen stays up when you feel that I have support in my life. Well, let's say you have a lot of negative complaints about your husband. You're talking to your therapist, you feel really good for a little while because you're complaining and somebody's listening to you, not objecting, not interrupting, being there. Your estrogen levels will go up. Your stress, your cortisol levels will go down. This is proven. Talking will lower your cortisol. But then you come back into your life and nothing's changed. And so now that you got more to complain about, but you can't complain to him because he'll just get defensive. So it's a cycle. Now, what I'm teaching women is it's important to be able to share with somebody what's upsetting you, what problems are there in your life. Talk about it to somebody you're not trying to change. That's the first thing. Then it releases the brain to shift quite easily over to what's good in your life. So as a therapist, I never let my clients leave, women, without exploring what's not good, but also what's good. It's very important to balance. That's how we process stress, particularly women. When men can process stress differently, we process it by forgetting the problems. Okay, I could just have a stressful day and watch a TV show and forget all my problems and feel good. Now, I know a psychologist might say, oh, you're in denial, but no, that's how men are designed. That's for me I was a monk for 9 years. I'm a master meditator. And that's the whole point of meditation in the ancient days, which is for men to meditate, to forget their problems, to do a discipline, which they can do quite easily, but it's something they can do that doesn't cause stress and also helps them to forget their problems. Today, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can play video games, but if you do it too much, it's not really very productive. Meditation actually elevates your consciousness, so it's something productive. Men do porn. They do porn. They're addicted to porn. And why?
Why?
Because
Why is that? You're so right. Why? Why?
Okay,
What's your
what
understanding of?
porn does, it first, well, porn produces sex. First of all, whenever a woman undresses in front of a man, what is she saying to him? I trust you, right?
Right.
You're an amazing guy. I'm inviting you into, I'm letting you see what I don't
Right.
show anybody else, right? So that's a
Right.
compliment to him. It's women undressing turns men on. Now, what does it mean when a man's turned on? It means his testosterone levels are going up because I'm king. You know, she doesn't have sex with anybody. She only undresses in front of me, so I'm special. So this is what raises testosterone in men is when a woman appreciates a man in a special way, in a sexual way, is a big, big testosterone booster in men. Now, what about porn? Well, porn is digital, it's fantasy. Whenever you have fantasy, that which is not real, you will get a higher dose of dopamine.
That's
Dopamine
exactly.
is the pleasure brain chemical, the motivating chemical. And so anything which is new and different or fantasy, anything that's not real, is going to produce higher levels of dopamine. Now, we just know that to be the case. So dopamine goes up when you look at porn. Dopamine goes up when you look at your phone. Now, what's the problem with that? Why people are picking up their phone all the time is because they're getting a hit of dopamine. And then they go back and look again, and they look again. Dopamine is the addiction brain chemical. The problem with addictions is that if I'm turned on by a naked woman on the screen, I will have higher testosterone levels than I can ever have with my wife. It literally diminishes your ability to experience high testosterone in your wife if you're getting this high dopamine stimulation, which is addictive. The whole concept there of addiction is, you know, if you have children, you don't say eat the dessert before the meal. The dessert is sugar is going to produce high dopamine. So if you produce high dopamine, dopamine receptors close down. Okay. So if I have something very exciting, then normal things don't excite me anymore. So men lose their ability to be excited by their wives and turned on by their wives the more they do porn, which is very, very important for everybody to know. Porn is so unnatural. It's telling the subconscious brain, the unconscious brain, it's telling it that 84,000 women all want to have sex with me. Now that's an illusion, but that's what the eyes see it. You get turned on by it because all these women, you can do what's called free porn. I wrote a whole book on this and how it changes the brain. But so I had to look at porn and somebody said, well, just go write free video porn. Okay, free video porn. Right on your screen, 84,000 women appear for you, all appearing to want to have sex with you. Now, this awakens the primitive brain in a man to put huge amounts of testosterone and huge amounts of dopamine because this primitive brain is like a monkey brain. And if you
Yes.
understand monkeys,
Yeah.
when you look at a tribe of male monkeys with the females, the head monkey, the alpha male, he has twice as much testosterone as all the other monkeys. Now, when he gets old or somebody beats him up and he dies, the next monkey who becomes alpha, one day on Tuesday, he had half the testosterone levels. On Wednesday, when he becomes king, it doubles. That's called status. So status increases testosterone in men, that all the females are now, he gets to be the king. And once he's the king, the females desire him, his testosterone goes up, and all the other guys are still betas. So it's the status that man gets by how many women or how many monkeys want to have sex with him. So we have so much biological stuff going on. So when my wife wants to have sex with me, it's a major testosterone producer. That's what the whole dynamic of testosterone is about, is success. Whenever you feel successful, a woman does or a man does, if you feel successful.
What happens if you feel rejected? Okay, so because women have problems of being rejected, or a man is rejected by a woman. What is going on then?
Rejection is more painful to men than women. Judgment is more painful to women. When men judge women as being needy, demanding, critical, unlovable, irrational, stupid, not loving, that's horrible for women. Rejection is where you just push a man away. You don't accept him. It's not, there not being judgment. It's just simply, I don't accept you. And the way women unknowingly reject men. See, this is what I try to do, is reveal to people the way they think they're so loving, but we're not. And if you find out how to show love the way the other person needs it, you get big rewards. But whenever a woman is trying to change a man, anything you do to try to change a man, improve him, make him better, correct him, get what you want by telling him you should do this differently, that's called unsolicited advice. If you ever give unsolicited advice to a man, in many cases, he will take it as criticism. That what? Am I not good enough the way I am? Is my way not okay? And the thing about women is that women can always come up with a way to do something better. It's in your genes. You don't just accept things as they are. You tend to want to help it become better. And that's good. We need that. That's the feminine energy in the world, which is, what are the problems? What are the areas that need to be better? And then men are supposed to then look at that and go, okay, well, how can we figure this out? But if you try to make a man, if you say to him, how can he be better? When he's now the problem, he can't solve it. He can only try to convince you that I'm not the problem. And that's called defensiveness. So it's the simple thing, that's chapter 3 in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, is the Home Improvement Committee. Women, no matter what the situation is how can we make it better? You marry a man, and now how can I make him better? And that brings out, not only does it cause him to reject you back, because he'll feel rejected, but it causes you to start feeling like you're his mother. And that will inhibit sex hormones. Sexual attraction diminishes when you're feeling responsible for him. And this is the big challenge a lot of women have today, because they make more money than men. And when women make more money than men lose ambition. Like, why do I have to do it? If I don't have to do it, don't do it. So they don't have that energy of I have to do. So this is a real clear, amazing message about men and women. When a man feels he has to do something, then his testosterone goes up. If he feels I don't have to do it, don't do it. There's no energy. So if a woman feels I have to do it, her testosterone goes up. And that's a major source for women in life, is feeling overwhelmed. I have to do this. I don't have time. I have to do this. I don't have time. I have to do this. I don't have money. I have to. It's hard for women to turn that off. That's why it's good to have a man in your life who can say, I'll do things that you can do for yourself, but you don't have to do it because I'm here. And I analyzed that phrase. I just want to underline the concept of that phrase. It changed my whole life when I understood it. Why do women want romance? Okay. Romance, I take you to a restaurant where somebody else cooks for you, right? You can cook for yourself, but somebody else is cooking for you. So whatever a man can do something for a woman that she can do for herself, but you're happy to do it for her, her estrogen levels will go up. And that's what romance does. It helps to restore estrogen in a woman's body, keeps her estrogen in a healthy level. But as you said, and we just talked about, I don't normally go into that, but because you're a doctor and you also know that sometimes high estrogen creates anxiety in women.
Right.
One aspect, I gave the example, if it's anxiety without testosterone, if it's estrogen, high estrogen without testosterone. But then there's something else I didn't cover called estrogen dominance. Now, estrogen dominance, you're familiar with that phrase. Estrogen dominance seems like estrogen's the bad guy. In that case, it's not estrogen the bad guy. That's after ovulation. Progesterone has to become more dominant than estrogen. So instead of saying not enough progesterone, people say estrogen dominance, like estrogen's the bad thing. And there are bad estrogens in the body. There's toxic estrogens. But generally speaking, making estrogen is never a bad thing if it's balanced with progesterone or testosterone. And progesterone, in my work, I have discovered that women tend to make progesterone in 2 different ways. There is research showing social bonding, a party, an interaction, making dinner together, playing cards together, doing something together that you enjoy doing, that you like to do. That produces progesterone. Ironically, it doesn't make oxytocin. This is where the research on oxytocin is limited as well, because they don't look at what time of the month oxytocin lowers stress for women. After ovulation, oxytocin is not a major stress reducer. It's progesterone that's the major stress reducer. And so I have research showing progesterone, when women's progesterone goes up due to social bonding, it lowers her cortisol levels. But at other times, what she needs is high estrogen towards after her period, going towards ovulation. It's estrogen gradually increasing until it hits its peak at ovulation. And at that time, when it hits that peak, then her testosterone spikes, which causes a desire to have sex. If it doesn't hit that peak, she doesn't have that desire to have sex, which is why, as a teacher of relationships and romance, most important things for men are do things that women can do for themselves so she doesn't have to do it. Not all the time, but balance. So that's why we have romantic times. And every day is romantic in my marriage, because every day, here's a biohack for estrogen. I want some practical things to be here. We have an agreement that anytime, every day, now in the beginning, you can use hand signals. We don't use hand signals anymore, but the hand signal is she raises her hand showing 5 fingers. That means she has a request that will take less than 5 minutes, something she could do for herself, but you're going to do for her. So she doesn't have to do it. Because women get into a flow, a pattern of I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. So you need a what's called a pattern interrupt. You need to break that cycle. It's the go-to place for women. Have to, have to, have to. So what you do is every day she has to, this is a have to for herself, ask him to do something that she could do for herself, that he's going to do without any grumbles, without any resistance. He's going to stop what he does instantly with a big smile on his face right away, happy to do it. And she's going to feel, thank you. So it's this little sweet hormone boost, because it's something he knows. If I want a wife who likes sex with me, who's happy, she needs a pattern interrupt every day. So it's something I have to do. And it only takes less than 5 minutes. So that might be clean the dishes.
Brilliant.
That
Brilliant.
might be the trash. That might change the
Right.
light bulb. That might be
Right.
give me a foot massage. While you're watching that show, I watch TV, I'll grab her feet and give her a little foot massage. Women love this little stuff. Men don't realize, if you want a good marriage, there's a lot of things you have to do that take less than 5 minutes. Then there's things that can take less than 10 minutes. So that's the 2 hand signals that you do occasionally, at least once a week. And that's a 10-minute request. And it only takes 10 minutes, and you do 10 minutes. She's really, really happy. But I suggest for many times, that's when a woman just wants to talk about what's going on in her life. And a man is like exhausted and tired. He just wants to watch TV. And all she has to do, and I experience this because sometimes I'm exhausted and tired, and I just want to watch the news. That's my cave time, at least a half an hour, forget about everything. And then that restores my testosterone. That's cave time for men. But literally, this is how I'm a very good listener. I'm a very good partner. But there's sometimes when I just need my boost of testosterone, I need to not interact with her, because interacting with her raises my estrogen because I love her so much. So too much estrogen in a man will lower his testosterone, and I need to rebuild my testosterone. So literally, I'm like an ADD child. I just cannot focus on what she's saying. I mean, I just do not want to listen. There's huge resistance to it. I just need my cave, and we can do it later. But now we have this new rule. All she has to do is do this. And then my brain goes, oh, only 10 minutes? I can look at the clock, and then I'll be free, and I'll be the hero. Instantly, I have the energy. There's something about putting a time limit for a man on a job, time limit. He has the energy for it. But there's so many times in a man's experience where a woman can talk and go on, and she doesn't get to the point. And why is she telling me this? And I don't really relate to this at all. But if he knows this is a gift he can give to her, put the hands up. It's like magic. The first time she tried it with the 10 for talking, normally she'll do that for other things. Instantly, I said, okay, I can do 10 minutes. I did 20 minutes, but I looked at the clock, but it gave me that burst of energy of I have to do this because I said I would do it. That's the whole key for men. Like one of the key testosterone producers for men is do what you say you're going to do, and say what you're going to do before you do it. So that's called goal setting. Big thing for all the, success coaches and whatever. You've got to set your goals. your brain will start organizing everything to happen to give you the energy and the motivation and the wisdom and the brain's amazing. You set the goal. This is what I plan to do. I'm going to do it. And your pride is linked into, I said I'm going to do it and I did it. That's power. And women can easily do that. They're always feeling, I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough. But for men, that's the testosterone booster. And that's what gives men power. And always the challenges in men's life is how to keep your testosterone up. The challenges for women is how to keep your estrogen up. It's easy for a woman to go to her male side. That's the easiest thing for her to do that. It's the hardest thing for a man. Because think about, for a woman, your female side is the side of you that says, I depend on others to help me and do things for me. And I can do things for myself, but also it feels nice not to have to always do it. So I can depend on others. But when a woman feels, oh, I can't depend on my husband, this is a very common thing. I can't ask him for that. He won't do that. So what is the reaction? He won't do it, so I'll do it myself. Same thing for men. What she's feeling at that time is insecurity that he won't do that for me. I can't trust him. I have to do it myself. So she goes to her male side to do it. For a man, when he doesn't feel confident that I can be successful, then he says, I'll just do something fun, which is his female side. I'll let something make me happy rather than do the masculine thing, which is do the right thing, achieve your goals, keep your word, challenge yourself. That makes you happy as a result of doing those things.
You know what I like is that what you do is so revolutionary, because people think of relationship from one single aspect and don't think of that hormonal aspect that can influence their relation. I think that's one of the reason of so many divorces and separation between people, because the dopamine drops in time, and that's why people start to separate. But I want you to tell us a little bit about your wellness center, your Mars and Venus wellness solution, because you have such an extraordinary way of helping people balance the chemistry of the brain. And I think that adds to everything else that you do that is so magic. But this is also important for the listeners to find out much more.
Well, let me give a little background so people know I have some credibility here, because I'm a relationship expert. I've always taken sort of supplements and various things, but I wasn't fully master of it. Then at when I turned 50, I'm 73 now, but when I turned 50, I had early stage Parkinson's. Okay. And that was a disaster. Early stage Parkinson's.
Why did that happen?
It's in the family. I have relatives, dementia, Alzheimer's. My sister died of Alzheimer's at 60 years old. But I'm a researcher. So I found natural solutions. I found a way to stop it. I haven't had it come back. Occasionally, if I'm really overworking and not getting any sleep, as the early stages will come back, because my brain has got that vulnerability. But I fix it right away. So what I did is I went to a lot of alternative doctors to figure out how to fix this and solve this. And I did solve it. And then I realized how powerful supplements are. We're being in such a toxic environment today. There's so much stress in our lives. So there are things we can do to protect our body from that. So I created a wellness center for 9 years or 8 years. I brought in all these experts to give talks there so I could learn it. I had an online wellness store. I sold basically 40 different supplements that I felt could help all these sort of small problems that people have. Not the big things. I don't touch cancer or any big stuff like that. But just the not being able to sleep.
But it's more to do with the chemistry of the brain, regulating the neurotransmitters.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, I don't specialize in that now because so many people do it. I was one of the early biohackers. I don't know if you know the word biohacking, but
because
anyway, I was doing this. Once this was 30 years, 25 years ago, I created my wellness center. I created all these videos. I have a big wellness book, all that about biohacking ourselves. Now, I don't do that anymore, but there's one supplement that people still don't do. And I promote it because it's the most powerful one. One of the reasons it's so powerful is that nobody teaches it. And that's a mineral that balances your hormones. Okay. There's a mineral that balances dopamine and serotonin in the brain. That then balances your hormones. So you got brain body reaction. And that's called lithium. Now, most people know lithium is something you give to a bipolar person. Well, what is bipolar but hormonal imbalance, brain imbalance of unable to balance the highs and the lows? So you go really high, you go really low. And what they found, and traditional knowledge was in certain parts of the globe, there are these lithium springs. There's the uh, uh, sulfur springs. You go into those and your body pains will go away temporarily. Sulfur
Right.
is so good for your body. The other one is lithium springs. If you were sleepless, depressed, anxious, irritable, it would go away for a couple of days just soaking in a lithium bathtub. At my wellness center, I created my own lithium springs. I took lithium and I put it in hot tubs, and everybody felt the power of it. It was amazing. A doctor,
But
I
you're not
learned
doing
about.
that anymore? You're not doing that anymore?
No, I closed all that up.
Okay.
I was helping autistic children in 3 or
Okay.
4 days. Kids were talking and walking that they couldn't do before.
Amazing.
Uh,
Amazing.
but I closed it up because it was legal vulnerabilities.
Right.
The mother, I said, if a mother comes with her child, they had to bring their doctor with them. So it was very
Right.
expensive for them, but I'm not going to take the liability. I'm not a medical
Of
doctor.
course. Of course. Yeah.
And so there had to be a doctor there, and a man called, and he was a lawyer, and he said, I'm going to sue you. My wife is being fooled by you. You're a fake person, and this is costing us a lot of money, and it's nonsense. And fortunately, that child, after 2 days, began speaking 25 new words. Never spoke words before. 25 new words is what the doctor told me.
How
So
wonderful.
he's saying he wants to sue me. And I told the wife, would you bring your child over here? And little child got on the phone and spoke to his father and said, Daddy, I miss you. I love you.
Oh.
So that was the end of the lawsuit, but it scared me. And I realized this is for other people to do, not me.
Right.
But the magic there is lithium is so, there's other supplements and other things have benefit, no question about it. But
Right.
what tends to be missing, if people are experiencing chronic stress, it depletes their lithium supply. If they eat sugar and they get that high from sugar, any
Yeah.
high you experience will deplete you of lithium because it's going to balance the high with the low. Any low you
Right.
experience
Exactly.
has to bring it back up. So anytime you experience a shift in mood, you use up your lithium. It balances. So Dr. Nieper discovered that if you bind lithium with a substance, a salt, well, it becomes a salt, uratic acid. It's in mother's milk. Everything, as we get so much from mother's milk, well, this uratic acid binds with minerals and builds the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you bind lithium with uratic acid, it will cross the blood-brain barrier. Now, the psychiatrist.
How can people get lithium? Where can they get it?
Oh, you can't buy it in stores. You can't buy it in any country other than America. It's not illegal anywhere. It's just it's illegal to sell except in America, and only online do they allow it. I
So
kept
they
trying
can-
to get lithium. It's lithium orotate, not lithium, but lithium orotate. See, what's toxic is lithium carbonate. Psychiatrists used to give lithium carbonate, and it worked to balance the mood, but it got huge side effects. Okay.
Right.
Destroyed your thyroid gland. It's at 500 times more salt is what they're giving someone. You can't live with that. So there were side effects. So if you go online, you look at what lithium side effects, they have all these side effects of lithium, but they're not talking about low dose lithium orotate. So you don't need so much lithium, just what the brain needs. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when it goes into the brain, it also needs to work with calcium and magnesium. Magnesium is what produces the serotonin, the calcium produces the dopamine, and the lithium balances them. Every neuron, 1,000 times a minute, even a second could be. In every neuron, the neurons absorb magnesium, and the body is putting calcium into the neuron, pulling it out, just like sex. He's going in and out, in and out, in and out.
Right.
That is regulating serotonin and dopamine in your brain. Calcium stimulates you, magnesium relaxes you. And so it's going in and out, in and out. And what regulates that is lithium. So what I've seen is this huge regulation of dopamine and serotonin in the brain. So you can be alert, you can be motivated, but also relaxed and ease. And that puts your hormones in balance. Okay, helps your body to find balance. So lithium is the balancing hormone. What I did is I've been a proponent of it for almost 30 years now. Never a negative side effect. Nobody's ever had a negative side effect. There's only 2 cases that somebody got a stomach ache, and it was because what I've done is I've added a zinc into particularly for the men's version, but you need to have zinc orotate. And if somebody already has too much zinc in their body, if you take zinc, you'll get a stomach ache. That's all. It's the zinc inside of it. But never had a side effect, never anything. There's never anything reported ever. And yet, if you ask a doctor or anybody doesn't know about lithium orotate, they'll say you have to be very careful with lithium carbonate.
A lot of health problems come from deficiencies of minerals in the body. And people don't know that, and people don't take, like, for instance, there are 9 types of magnesium. There's so many types of everything. So you need to know what to take, and you need to know what you're deficient in. And sometimes it's even good to do those neurotransmitters tests to find out the level of the dopamine, epinephrine, the serotonin, and everything in the brain. But you are helping people so much, and I'm just shocked that that you're not on TV all the time like the way you should be, and I hope that we can fix that.
Well, no, I'm very happy. I'm all over the internet.
Right,
TV is the old medium.
Nowadays, TV doesn't matter anymore.
TV doesn't matter anymore. It's this. So let me mention also orotic acid. So I was teaching people about lithium orotate because Dr. Nieper said that's how you get it into your brain. Then you only need little doses, healthy doses. Then the research has now turned out that orotic acid all by itself is the only substance known that will go into your DNA and allow the DNA to self-correct. And this is very important now, because if you took the DNA shots that they were giving, that has changed your DNA. But what we have in our body is we have a blueprint. It's just the body forgets the blueprint. When you put something in to change your DNA, but actually just when women, let's say a woman is having to be like a man for a long period of time, every 3 months, your DNA repairs itself. It changes based upon your behaviors. Every 3 months, it's changing. Cool. So if you can change a behavior for 3 months, then your DNA can repair itself back to the correct behavior. Although tendency was to go back to the old behavior. So it takes a willpower for women to establish, I make more hormones, female hormones, and for a man to establish, I can make more testosterone. You have to do the behaviors that will stimulate the hormones for 3 months. And then with orotic acid activates the DNA in order to repair itself. Without the orotic acid, it doesn't necessarily repair so easily. So it's been known. So this lithium orotate, besides balancing our hormones and our brain chemistry, it's also helping our genes to self-correct and maintain the homeostasis that we were born with.
Yeah, and work on mitochondria. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a wonderful. Anyway, for how people can learn about lithium orotate, I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm really love talking about relationship. But if they go to marsvenus.com, right at the very top, it says elemental orotates. Just see the word orotates and click on that button, and it will take you to Amazon, where I explain everything about the.
So to go to your site, and that's the way they're going to find everything.
Yeah, they can find out about it there.
Can we take also 1 minute phone call with so many listeners? They all wanted to talk to you, but we prefer to listen, all of us. But can you answer somebody's phone call just for a second?
Yeah, it's fun. That's why you have a live show. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, it's a calling show. So Pauline, are you still with us? Because we had so many people, and now
I have a really interesting question. But now that he talked, and I really actually, I have a feeling that with the older crowd now, they need this information because they're living longer. And some people just have like they're widows, or they, don't want to be bothered with the opposite sex because they can't get it up anymore. Or they can't, be roused anymore. So I guess that's this part of the solution. And maybe you can work with the older crowd, the boomers.
Oh, well, let me talk about it. That sounds so. Thanks for the question. What happened? Women need to know. Now, if you look at the averages, every man as he gets older, his testosterone goes down. But that's the average. It's not me. I'm 73 years old. My testosterone is 50% higher. And it's because I understand the dynamic of polarity. It's when a man does these little things for a woman every day, his testosterone will be boosted. her estrogen will be boosted. When a woman's
I
estrogen
hope
goes up,
everybody on the planet listen to what you're telling right now. Leave them like-
oh, it's so
This is
it's
this is the emotional body that's being
right. Yeah.
the body mind connection. So that's, as a matter of
that's right.
fact, I used to find lithium in my crystal. I was like drawn to crystals, and I was given something called lepidolite, and it has lithium in it. I don't know if it has the orotate part, but yeah, I had been prescribed the lithium, and it destroyed my thyroid. So I'm glad that's the information.
It's not the lithium, it's the overdose. It's 500 times the dose that I'm suggesting people take. And when you take the lithium binded with the orotic acid is the delivery system to take it into the brain. But having a lithium crystal is a good thing. That's how I created my lithium hot tubs, is I put lithium crystals in the water, and the ions of the crystals would come out. It was also special water. It was supercharged oxygenated water that would cause a reaction and bring the lithium into the body. But still, your lithium crystal.
I'm involved with somebody in Puerto Rico, okay? And he's been helping me with the lithium, but he said it's a natural lithium he's been giving me. Because I said, I'm never taking lithium again. And he goes, well, this is natural, or maybe this is what you're talking about.
Well, what I'm talking about.
I never knew.
Okay. Yeah. He's doing good. I'm just suggesting try out the lithium orotate, and it's micro doses. You're only getting 2.5 milligrams to 5 milligrams of lithium.
But I like what you talked about having it a center where you actually, but you don't want to take that chance. But he has it in Puerto Rico, and he's got connections in Puerto Rico. I don't know if they could come after him. He's got a slew of lawyers. So since this helps,
okay. Let me come back to people. Let me come back to what you said
with the show.
Okay. Yeah. Let's come back to women over menopause.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on here. Okay, now women over menopause, they don't need to make as much estrogen. It's very important. What she needs at that point, see, once you don't have the eggs coming out, the ovaries stop making estrogen. Now your adrenal gland makes the estrogen. So what you want to do is make sure you're doing things that don't cause stress, so your adrenal gland can produce enough estrogen. And by the way, as a side note, since we're talking supplements, L-taurine, vitamin C, and MSM are 3 supplements that help restore adrenal health. Vitamin C, MSM, and taurine, and high doses of each for 3 months will help restore hormonal balance. If you had a rough time during menopause, it's because your adrenal glands were stressed out. So you have to heal the adrenal glands. Those are some things to do it. But more importantly is to make sure that you're in a relationship where you're asking for help. This is a hard thing for women to learn, is how to ask for help. So these little hand signals are really good. Also make sure the man always drives and you're sitting, but you can put your hand up on the handle. If ever you grab the handle, you basically says, oh, I'll be happy to slow down. How can I drive better? See, it's this little moments of where a man is showing respect and consideration for a woman, breaks her from this feeling of, I have to do it myself. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody hears me. These are the hacks that will help bring the estrogen up, learning to ask for help. For men to keep their testosterone up, by doing this, it will raise your testosterone. It's having to do what you have to do to make her happy rather than just going on automatic and doing what makes you happy. You have to think a little bit beyond what makes me, oh, I feel good. I like sitting on the couch, or I like watching this show, or I like my video games. That's just pure female energy. But if you do something you have to do that maybe you'd rather be sitting on the couch, but you're happy to do it because you know this is going to make my wife happy. And then you start waking up the sex drive. Sex is that's why mine's 50% higher than when I was a young man, is I learn all the foreplay techniques. I have a class at marsvenus.com. Every couple could take it and laugh along with it. It's very funny and entertaining, about men learning how to have foreplay techniques to help a woman experience vaginal orgasm. Not so much focusing on the clitoris, but more on the vaginal orgasm. There's different higher levels of estrogen required to have the vaginal orgasm. Clitoral orgasm is really stimulating more testosterone. So we want to make sure we're getting both in there, not just focusing on the clitoris, but that's very important not to forget. So a little extra things for the older people, because you don't necessarily feel it, Like my friends, they all were in our 70s. I teach sex. They go, "Oh, I'm done with that. I've been there." I said, no, you just need to have it stimulated. I don't miss it. That's because you have no testosterone. So you need to get in bed. You need to kiss. You start to hold on to each other, gently touch each other. Even when you don't feel like it, you have to do this. And then it will start activating a man's ability to feel more love for his partner. Then you do this loving exercise, which again, it's another one of these great tools, which is a woman says when he's coming lying in bed naked with you, she speaks, she communicates. It's all about ears and talking. She says, "Do you love me?" And he says, "Yes, I love you." "And how much do you love me?" "With all my heart." "Do you still think I'm beautiful?" "You are so beautiful." "Are you happy you married me?" "Of course I'm happy and married you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." "Are you still mad at me about that thing the other day?" "No, I'm not mad at you." See, a man cannot be mad when he has an erection. This is his heart is full. That's when he can express his love. And once a man says it out loud, he feels it 10 times more. So, but a woman has to introduce that. She can't just, not a one-way street. She has to say, "Do you love me? Do you think I'm beautiful?" Because she's already feeling that deep down inside. Of course it's there, unless she's hardened herself. And then there's no energy between the two of them. So there's a sweet softness of making this a practice. It's such a sweet thing. At least once a week, hop in the bed to do this. No goal at all other than to express love and feel a little sexual energy, and it will build more and more.
And that's the secret to longevity, to joy, to happiness, and a successful relationship at any age, at any time in your life. So, Dr. Gray, you are so magic, like always. Amazing. We all love you so much, and we are so grateful here at Home Time, and everybody listening, especially myself. I'm grateful, and I hope to you'll be able to join us anytime soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And
We
everybody,
love,
a lot of these ideas
we
are in
love.
the book Beyond Mars and Venus. Beyond Mars and Venus
And
is all
your
about
next
the hormones.
projects, what do you have any new books coming? Anything, something new?
Oh, I have something called biohacking your hormones, biohacking your hormones for
That's
good
a
relations.
book?
It's coming. It's
Oh,
coming. Yeah.
that's brilliant. Like all your
Yeah.
books, because that's
Thank you.
exactly what the world needs right now. The
Yeah. We have
world
to
needs your
understand.
teaching, your wisdom, your expertise. Everything is so valuable to all of us. We appreciate you. We love you. We are so honored to have you with us.
Carmen, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank everyone for listening. I appreciate it.
We love
Okay.
you, Dr. Gray.